Y'all, Mariah the Scientist just became the center of one of the messiest hip-hop clashes of the year. I'm talking viral New York Fashion Week clips, Young Thug's jailhouse insults, GloRilla turning those words into a diss track, and now Young Miami stepping in to defend Mariah while mocking Glo or being a colorist. And y'all, these clapbacks are getting uglier by the day because now the city girls are involved. But here's a twist. What started out as playful rap shots is now exploding into a conversation about colorism, female loyalty, and hip-hop, and whether GloRilla just crossed the line that she can't walk back from. Y'all stick around because the deeper we go, the more we see we uncover, from Thugsley calls to Mariah's bold moves on tour and Miami turning this whole feud into a cultural moment. Before I break down how this beef spiraled, though, let's rewind a little bit, because Mariah the Scientist's history really matters here. This isn't just Thug's girlfriend or some army side act. She's the girl who graduated high school at just 16 years old, proving early on that she's gifted way beyond the music. You graduated at 16. That's fire. You gotta clap that. Clap for yourself. Yeah, these hoes are dumb out here. She's talented, smart, beautiful, and at this point in her career, she's stacking real money off her craft. So when GloRilla tried to clown her as Tweety Bird in a disc, it wasn't just petty shade. It felt like an attack on everything Mariah represents. A woman who's been standing tall through Thug's Rico mess, through public humiliation, and still managing to sell out these shows. And that's exactly why Young Miami felt the need to step in later. Because what Glo said didn't just sound like a disc, it sounded like a lot of colorist digs too. But before we get into Miami's defense, let's rewind a little bit to how shots first started flying. Now, Lil Mariah, she showed up at Laquan Smith's New York Fashion Week show, in a whole different era of herself. Now she got platinum blonde hair, bold cutout dress on, walking in like she knew the whole room would stop. What do you think? You look so good. You look like a different person. Ended because Ty Dolla signed Lotto, Ice Spice, Lil Kim, everybody was in the building. Even Wendy Williams popped out, which had the whole crowd buzzing. But while fashion insiders were hyping up her look, social media kind of went left. And that's when GloRilla started throwing shade, calling Mariah Tweety Bird. A clip of Mariah at the show went viral instantly, and the Tweety comments spread like wildfire. For a lot of fans, this wasn't just a casual joke. It felt like the start of something bigger, especially since Thug's leaked jail calls about Glo had already been circulating. And sure enough, Glo didn't just leave it online. She took it straight to the booth over the beat of the Hot Styles classic from Young Jock. Looking at Idea, GloRilla unloaded a whole disc, taking aim at Young Thug and sliding in jabs at Mariah, too. She mocked Thug style, his femininity, even turned his nickname into Young Bug. But what really got through this was how she came at Mariah, calling her Sir to poo, saying that she had a brain the size of a pea, and clowning her for standing by Thug through all the cheating rumors. Beauty and the Freak looking at B. Brain size of a pea looking at B. I don't care if he cheating at B, long as he come home to me looking at B. That right there flipped the whole internet upside down. Not just because it was funny or mean, but because Mariah and Glo were literally on stage together this summer at Hot 107.9's birthday bash in Atlanta, and it looked cool back then, like sisters in the same lane. And now, months later, Glo was dissing her right in front of the world. Even though Glo said that this was all fun and games, fans weren't buying it, especially not after what came next, because that leak call did expose why she was even mad in the first place. Right. When people thought it was just a playful rap shade, the leak jailhouse call phone call from Young Thug blew everything wide open. In the recording, Thug was talking to Mariah, and he didn't hold back on how he felt about GloRilla. He straight up called her ugly, clowned her wig, dragged her frame, and even said he would never pursue her. His words cut deep. Long-ass booish wig, skinny frame, dang big head, big mouth. I wouldn't pursue her at all, ever. GloRilla, yeah. Why people say she pretty? That be ugly as. You think she ugly? You said it. Long ass wig, skinny, goddamn big ass head, big mouth. Watch out. Now for Glow, that was a knife in the back because imagine being compared to Rihanna one week and then having one of the biggest rappers in Atlanta laugh at the idea of even looking your way. So when Glow hit the booth, she wasn't just taking random shots. She was responding to that phone call, 'cause Thug embarrassed her on a recorded line, and then Mariah was in there laughing and keeking. And that's why Glow went for both of them. She even joked about Thug once trying to flirt with her before flipping it back on him in the diss track. But what hit harder was her targeting Mariah, accusing her of tolerating disrespecting as long as she had the girlfriend title. And that's the part fans zeroed in on, because instead of sounding like harmless bars, it was starting to go low, and it seemed like there was some bitterness mixed with something darker. But after that leak went viral, the Thug scrambled and he hopped on eggs to apologize, and writing directly to GloRilla Glow. First of all, I'm sorry to you for my words, and I honestly don't think you're ugly at all. I was speaking from jail, just having a hard time with life. I don't like bash girls and hardly ever did. I'm sorry to you, twin. Not twin, but fans were definitely not buying it, especially because the apology felt too little too late, especially by then. And Glow had already flipped the insult into her own marketing moment. And for Mariah, this was the worst possible timing. She had just dropped her album Heart Sold separately in August and was announcing her 2026 tour, and instead of headlines about her music, she was trending for being dragged into a diss track called Tweety Bird with a Peas Brain and sitting with her man quiet while her man clowned another woman on the phone. Well, while GloRilla was clowning and turning pain into bars, young Miami popped out with a totally different energy. A clip went viral of her recording Mariah mid-conversation, and instead of piling on, she stopped and said, "My friend is so pretty. My friend is so pretty. First of all, the walk." And then Mariah stuck her tongue out, smiled, and kept on talking. It was quick, but the internet ate it up, and fans love seeing Mariah glowing despite the drama, and Miami hyping her up like a real friend should. And this wasn't just a cute little moment. It was Miami putting a stamp of approval on Mariah, almost like she was saying, "We not letting Glow tear her down." But instead, it didn't stop with Miami showing love on social media. Miami also made some slick comments shading Glow, questioning why her dishes always circle back to skin tone and looks instead of talent. And that's what fans started calling out too. Closed bars about Thug were harsh, but the way she touched on Mariah felt interesting. One fan tweeted, "Since GloRilla want to be a colorist, this you, Mariah, look way better, and even Whoopi Goldberg look better. Girl, you got work done. Be effing for real." Then another person wrote, "GloRilla is a colorist, and it comes out every time she gets into it with someone." And that's where Miami's defense hit hardest, not just because she hyped up Mariah, but because she basically positioned Glow as bitter, insecure, and pushing colorist vibes. And in hip-hop, where image and solidarity matter, that's a dangerous label to get stuck with. Remember, Miami had just supported Mariah's album rollout in Atlanta with Queen Nega weeks before all this exploded, so her defending Mariah wasn't random, it was loyalty. Miami knows what it feels like to be dragged online, to have your looks clowned, and she wasn't about to let Mariah stand alone in that storm. And that moment shifted the narrative. Instead of Mariah being seen as the girl caught in the middle of Thug's mess, Miami reframed her as the woman worth protecting, someone too talented and too smart to be reduced to a Tweety Bird disc. At first, folks laughed at the Tweety Bird and We the Pooh bars, but when the smoke cleared, the internet started dissecting what GloRilla really said. And that's when the word colorist started getting thrown around heavy. People noticed Glow hit Thug with brutal punches about his style and image. But when it came to Mariah, the shots weren't about her talent or music. They were about her looks and skin tone being the unspoken undertone. Others dug deeper, pointing out that Glo has a habit of bragging about being a red bone in her lyrics, almost like she sees it as an advantage over darker-skinned women. And that's why her bars about Mariah kind of cut different. Folks was comparing how Glo attacked Thug versus how she attacked Mariah, and Thug got roasted for everything under the sun. His dreads, his skirts, even his flirting. But Mariah, she barely got touched except for looks-related shots. Some saw that as a bias. So was Glo pulling punches because Mariah is lighter-skinned, or was she just acknowledging that she is talented and didn't want to touch on that? Well, the narrative that Young Miami is doubling down on is colorism, because she defended Mariah, making it less about rap beef and more about representation in hip-hop.